Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're from. I just want to give a little bit of description about today's session. So today's session is all about putting Copilot to work in every practical way. Specifically, how Copilot works inside Power Automate to help legal teams reduce manual effort in everyday workflow. This is not a governance or policy session. We are focused on real legal workflows, how automation actually gets built, and where teams can start without over engineering. We'll move quickly into examples and live demos so you leave with a clear sense of what to try next. So let's get started. Next slide. All right, so let me start by introducing your host for today, Priya Spark. We are a team of Microsoft 365 experts who help organizations create better employee experience. We focus on improving digital workspace productivity using Microsoft 365, and we have offices based in Davis, California, and Toronto, Canada. Our work is built around three main key areas: modern work, helping teams work from anywhere on any devices in a very simple and flexible way. Process transformation is helping businesses to go digital, automate tasks, and use AI to handle repetitive work. Secure cloud, making sure your systems are secure, compliant, and ready for today's work environment. We use Microsoft tools like Microsoft 365, Copilot, Power Platform, SharePoint, Teams, Dynamics, and Azure to help our organizations achieve real business results. Next slide. All right, so before we jump in, a quick things to help you get the most out of today's session. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A panel at any time. We'll keep an eye on them. We also have some useful handouts prepared for you, so make sure you stay with us till the end of the webinar to get access. Plus, there is a webinar giveaway, so definitely stick around for that. We also have something like the send out certificate after attending today's session. And don't worry if you miss anything during the session, we'll send a full recording to your email next week as well. All right, here's how we'll spend our time today. We'll start with where legal teams tends to get stuck with automation. Then we'll show how Copilot works inside Power Platform, Power Automate, and quickly move into live examples, live demo. The goal is to keep this practical and grounded so you leave with a clear sense of what to try next. All right, before I carry on, I wanted to quickly introduce myself and your speaker for today. My name is Prem. I'm a senior marketing specialist here at Creospark. Nuno, our head of enterprise architecture and IT. So to talk more, I'll pass it off to Nuno. All yours, Nuno.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Prem. Just want to tell you a little bit about myself before I get started. I'm head of enterprise architecture. I've been with Creospark for about 8 years and been in IT for some 20-something years. So you could tell by my bald head, it's taken a little bit out of me. I've done everything from support to development and architecture. So I got a little bit of experience in everything. So today we'll kind of get started with some Power Automate. So before we dive in, I want to take a quick poll just to understand where we are in the automation journey. We typically see a mix of people in teams where there's teams that are very manual and some have experimented a bit and others have quite a few workflows. Doesn't matter where you land. We're hoping that you take something out of this session. So give it a few minutes so the results come back. Right. So it looks like we got a few people that have done some are mostly manual, some that have experimented, few that have a few workspaces, and then some that are just there's nobody really trying to just refine their process at this point. So we have a nice gamut of range, and which is good to see. And hopefully you guys get a little bit of everything out of this workshop. So I want to start by grounding us in some concrete information and before we jump into the workflow. Forrester looked at organizations using Power Automate and found 248% return on investment with payback in under 6 months. That's not a theoretical value. That's from automating real repeatable work. What's important here is that where the value comes from. It's not massive transformation projects. It's removing a little bit of friction from everyday processes, routing work, chasing approvals, handling repeatable tasks. So this session today is really about showing you how we start leveraging that and how Copilot inside of Power Automate can get you there a little bit faster. So let's talk about why this matters specifically to legal teams, because the challenges here are a little bit different from other departments. No matter the size of the firm, and you hear again and again from different stories, work gets stuck in email chains, approvals are chased down manually. The only way to get to know where things stand is to ask someone directly. That ends up to a slower turnaround, a lot of non-billable time spent just chasing and keeping things moving. Now, at the same time, legal teams can't just flip a switch on automation because they have to make sure confidentiality is protected, accountability is maintained. So there's always a little tension between wanting to move faster and needing to stay in control. That's exactly the gap we think you could address with Power Automate and Copilot. The good news is you don't need a new platform or a big transformation projects. You could start with the tools you have and use them to take a little bit of the friction of your everyday tasks out. The key message is really automation doesn't mean giving up control. It means making routine steps more predictable and easier to manage so that your teams can focus on actual required actual work that requires legal judgment. So let's see how we can use this in practice. Before we jump into the demo, I want to make sure that we're all in the same page about the two pieces actually fit together, because there's a mental model that makes everything else click. So let's think about it this way. Copilot is your design assistant. It sits inside of Power Automate. It helps you describe what you want to happen in plain language. You tell it something like, when a new contract request comes in, route it to the right the right receiver and send a reminder if it's not approved in 2 days. Copilot translates that and suggests automation steps for you. Power Automate, on the other hand, is your execution engine. It actually does the work of routing the tasks, triggers the approvals, logs the outcomes. It becomes part of the system of record of the process. And the key point for legal teams is Copilot helps you build faster, but it doesn't make any final decisions. You're always in control of what gets approved and executed. It's the separation of what makes it safe to use in a legal context. The best part, you don't need to be technical to get this, to do this. You just describe what you need in a sentence or two, and start building a workflow. And we'll show you how to do that. Excuse me. The key here is we're not talking about automating legal judgments. Nobody's asking a machine to review the contract clauses, make legal decisions. We're looking at repeatable structured tasks that happen around legal work. Things like intake requests, matter opening steps, approval routines. These are the processes that every legal team, regardless of your size, they have. They have clear steps, involve multiple people. They need some tracking. That's why they make great candidates for automation. And the approach we recommend is simple. Start with one process, get it working, learn from it, expand it. And so you don't need to build out big rollouts. Just one flow that saves your team a little bit of time, proves its concepts, and then just keep building on that. Here's just some possible examples of automations that might map closest to your team today. That's probably best some of the good starting points for you. Matter intake and triage, contract reviews and approval workflow with a human in the loop, post matter closing and knowledge capture type workflows. They're all stuff that all legal teams work on. Those are things that could possibly be automated. So where do legal teams actually see value fast? It comes down to one thing, usually documents. Most of the work in legal teams is document driven, generating them, reviewing them, getting them approved, storing them properly. And here's what makes workflow such a good fit for automation. They're high value, they're repeatable, and they're exactly the kind of task that manual errors creep in. Think about how many times a week teams handle the same type of requests or route the same kind of approvals. Each one of these is roughly the same steps without a process in place or system, things will get missed and delayed. That's why document-centric workflows are ideal starting points. And the steps are well defined and the rules are clear, payoffs are immediate, and less manual chasing, fewer things falling through the cracks, and more time you have that actually requires your legal expertise. So, and remember, you don't need to automate everything at once. So now I want to talk to you about the patterns that ties everything together. This is really the framework that I see during action. We'll see during action during this demo. We'll start with let's start with describe. Simple, explain what you need the workflow to do in plain language. Same way you'll explain the process to your colleague. Non-technical language is not required. So just keep it simple. Then the build is Copilot takes that description, turns it into a structured workflow inside of Power Automate. It's basically translating your intent into actual steps. Next, you route and review. This is where legal teams feel the most comfortable because it mirrors what you do really do. Work gets routed. People get people to the right people. Approvals happen in the human loop, and nothing moves without someone signing off. And finally, you want to log the approvals, completed and log it. So outcomes get recorded in the central location. So there's a clear trail, visibility for the team, and accountability in the process. So before we start the demo, which is what I'm most excited about. Let's see it in action. We're going to walk you through a live workflow, building it out, and see so you can see the patterns taking place and play in practice. We'll start with the legal request intakes. We'll see how it's intention. No special forms or portals, just a straightforward way to kick off the process. Then I'll show you how Copilot helps describe and build the automation inside Power Automate. We'll see some plain language descriptions turn into a workflow. No coding, no technical steps, just some configurations. From there, we'll follow the workflow as it routes to the review process using the tools you already know, like Teams and Outlook. The idea is the automation should fit into how your team works already and not force you into something new tools and stuff like that. As we go through this, focus on the intent and the outcome rather than all the little buttons I might be clicking, because I'm going to go pretty quickly because we only have so much time. So I want to make sure that I kind of get a working product done in time. So, and you'll see the different patterns that I just explained previously. So let's just jump in and get started. So let me share my screen, my other screen. So one second. So anyways, I made a mistake. So I changed something. So we're going to start with the Microsoft form. And it's just a simple form, not a lot of fields. It's just a matter description, department or client, the full description and the deadline, just to get some intake. Your team might have a lot more detail or less. I just put a few fields just to kind of show the concept. It's basically taking in Microsoft forms that comes with your existing Microsoft licenses. And then I created a SharePoint list in the background. Basically has the same fields in the background. So the requester's name, all the different fields there. I also had a couple other fields that I added there for summary type and then some approval fields. So that's just kind of, I did that in advance, so we're not wasting time on building those pieces. So let's get started with the actual building of Flow. So in Power Automate, you just got to go to make.powerautomate.com. When you go in there, you'll get an environment similar to this. And this is where you would actually start by generating, asking Copilot to build a flow for you. So all we have to do is tell it what we want. Since I'm bad at typing in front of when other people are watching, I typed it out in advance just to save some time. And basically, we're just kind of writing in when a new legal matter request is submitted, summarize the request in plain English, classify it by matter, create a new matter record, and route it to a legal review. The request will come from Microsoft Forms and will be copied to a SharePoint list, and it will prompt, summarize, and classify. What you'll notice when I do this, it might not do every single thing here. It will try to do its best to help you get there. So, if you do this a second time, it might not be perfect, exactly the same as the previous time. So just so you know that if you copy this to another one, it might not come out exactly the same again. So, but it'll come close. So click generate, and what it does is starts to work in the background and try to figure out what you're asking for. So with the suggested flow, it's kind of telling you it's going to come from a Microsoft form, which is what we built, and it's going to take the new request. And then there's going to be some actions. It gets the details, it creates the item to SharePoint, and then it starts an automated workflow. As you noticed, it didn't really put anything about a classification in here. And that's going to happen sometimes. I might not understand what you've told it, so it's going to try to do the best it can, right? So there's two ways to handle this. Is you could change your request and resubmit it, or just do those steps manually after. Because the goal is to have this be a stepping stone to get you there quicker. So we'll just keep it like this for now, and we'll do keep and continue. And it's basically going to go through, it's going to build all your connections. And by default, it will take your account, and then just click create flow. And then you'll see that it's built those ones that we mentioned. And you'll see there's some errors. And that's okay, because what it's really telling you is you got to configure it, this step, because it didn't configure it for you. We could have wrote the steps to say, because we know the list and we know the what's called the form. We could have told it to try to pick out that form, and it would do its best to get there. In this case, I decided not to do it, so we're just going to configure it. So we could pick the list. As you can see, my form is not showing up here. That's an easy solution to solve. You just click enter custom value. And we're just going to take this value in your request. It's just the ID. We just need this one value. We're going to take it just to keep it simple and just pop it into the list there. And it basically, you'll see the red go away, and we know it's working. Then we go to the next step. You'll see it's looking for the same thing. So we're just going to enter it here again. And then that will just tell us to point it to the same list. You'll notice it actually puts the response ID. So this response ID is this, it's getting the value from this step above it. And it's getting the corresponding ID so that it could grab all the extra fields that it needed. So it did part of the mapping, but it didn't do all the mapping. So we're helping it out. Excuse me. On the left-hand side here, before I forget, there's a Copilot button, and you can tell it to do some of these updates in plain language. Some of these, sometimes it's faster to do it through telling Copilot to do it. Sometimes it's quicker to just do it ourselves, because it's just picking and choosing the spots. So in this case, I'm going to just go quickly through the screens. You see the site address. They just put a site address because I didn't specify. It tried to guess one. It's the wrong one because our tenant is not Contoso. It's actually PCMO01. So all we got to do is click the X here, and then the drop down, and we find look for your site that actually has it. In this case, it's on the list. Sometimes it might not show on the list. We just click enter and manually type it. So I'm just going to pick it from the list. Keep it simple. It's not finding the associated request list, so I'm just going to click cancel, even though it guessed it. And then we're going to pick it from the list. And what we'll see now is it's now showing a bunch of parameters here. So these parameters are all the fields that are coming from the SharePoint list that are available to us, so that we want to be able to populate. So for example, we're going to want to do requester's name, client description, deadline. So we're just going to show those. And then we could tell it, like I said before, from here, but it's just as fast to do it from this part at this stage. So just click on insert expressions, and you'll see two parts. You could do functions, or you could just grab dynamic content, and we're just going to look for the get response, and we're going to try to match it. So in this case, matter is just my requester name because I had changed the name by mistake earlier and I couldn't remember. And then department is the same thing. It'll take us 2 seconds to get all of these done. So just do all of these, and we'll do the description request, and then the matter deadline. There. So we just all this is going to do, this step is insert a record into this SharePoint list after it gets submitted. That's all this step does. So we're going to click save, and it's probably going to give us an error. And the reason it's giving us an error is because we have this extra step that we haven't configured yet. So we'll go back. And I did that on purpose to kind of show you that you're going to get some errors, and that's okay. To go back, because that's how you learn, is see what the error message come up, what you need to do next. So we're going to configure the approval step, and then we're going to add more steps later to make this even better. So the approval step, there's a bunch of different types of approvals. You could do an approval that goes to multiple people and everybody has to approve or reject. You could do approval to a lot of people, but it's the first person that responds. And you could do a custom responses. So instead of approve and reject, you could say, I want yes and no, decide those. And you can have a sequential approval process, which is basically one after the other. In this case, we're just going to go approve and reject first response just to keep it simple. And then what we want to do is, this is where we kind of configure what goes in the message for approval. So in this case, we're just going to, give me a second. What did I put in my, we can put anything in there. So I'm just finding what I put in my previous one. I just put the title. I put a new title just to keep it simple. I just put a standard text in there. We could also include the customer's name if we wanted to. So for example, if we wanted to put the matter details, so we just go back to the requester's name, and that will put it in. What will come in the request will be the new matter approval, and then the customer's name. I'm going to keep this simple, and I'm just going to assign it to myself. Let me get the email address in this account. So just to keep it simple, we'll go to myself. The details, I'm just going to take the description of from the previous step. So we're going to just take the description field, and we're going to go to description, and we're just going to put that there. And then we can also add a link to the SharePoint list item. So we're just going to do that too. Link. So we're just going to select the link to item, and this is really just for so that we have a link so that we could go easily back into the request if we wanted to. And we're just going to hit save here. Oh, did I miss something? Did I? Right item, reference summarize. There's a field missing that something's not liking something. What field? Summarize matter, maybe? Actually, create item, valid. So I think there was trying to do something here. We're just gonna put a simple value, see if it gets rid of our error. Not sure why it's not given that. 1 second. See, the demo gods are with us today. So, right. Create an input action. What's it not liking? Not liking something in this summarize. Summarize request. Didn't do anything with summarize request anywhere. Oh, it's probably the name. That's probably what's not. Probably not liking something in the flow. So when you use Power Automate or Copilot to create your flow, it will put basically your whole request and how you wrote it as the name. So if it has some special characters, it's going to give us problems. And but it's still giving us a problem on that field. So it's interesting. Let me see if they put anything, it decided to trigger anything in the background. Let's see. No. Looking at those two. So we're going to try something. Show all. Why? So let me try something. So we're gonna, you know what we're gonna do? It's not liking this, so we're just gonna delete it again, and we're gonna manually add a new field here. Because it didn't like something that I put in there, and I probably forgot to delete it in the first place, and that's causing problems now. So we're just going to go back to it, do this real quick, and then we're going to do that again. So it's requested, and deadline. So keep it simple. that was deadlines. Let's see if that worked. And then we have to go back here. We don't have to put anything there. We'll just leave that out, and we'll put the details back. And we'll put the description, and then we'll put. So when we deleted it, it removed the link. So we'll just add it. Deleted those fields because we deleted the step that it was referencing. There we go. So sometimes you just have to do a step over. And I know what happened is it put some default values and I forgot to delete it, and now they disappeared, but they're still hidden in the background. That's what caused the problem. I found it in the code, but it doesn't let me change it in the code view. So perfect. So we're just gonna kind of leave it here for now. I'm gonna do a quick test just so that you guys kind of see it going, and then we're just gonna do a preview. So I created a few what do you call it? I got ChatGPT or Copilot to generate some legal matters. We're just going to take one. So it's a simple legal matter, just got some information, going to enter it into the form, and we're going to use this as our demo of what's gonna happen. So we'll just give it a name for the matter, and then this client's going to take all the details from that document. Copilot did a great job coming up with something for us so that we didn't have to worry about it. And then I'm just going to submit. I'm going to, and we're going to see it actually trigger. So it gets saved, and this flow, now if we go and look at it, it's going to start to run. So you can see it running in the background. And it's going to trigger the approval slip. So now if I went into this list and refreshed it here, it would have put that record in here. So you can see that it actually put that record in here with the information. You notice how none of the fields here are populated? And that's because we haven't done the steps for that piece yet. So I'm just gonna cancel. The approvals come across, and we have what's called, it has the full description. Not very, because it's an approval process, we're probably going to want to summarize this and then classify it so that people actually, it could be routed in the future to the different departments if there's that purpose, but also just give them a summary versus the full amount on the approval request, and then they could go in through the link and see more details. So we're just going to hit approve for this one just for now, just to get it going. And then we're going to kind of go back into edit mode. We're going to let it deal with it. So one of the next step I want to kind of show doing is let's classify this, summarize that big description and classify it. So what we could do is leverage some prompting. So in what's called in Power Automate Admin, you'll see AI Hub. It's another tool for AI that you can leverage. You'll see this capability is called prompts. I've created two, a summarize what's called the matter and classify matter. And all you got to do is click on prompts, and you'll see a bunch of different pre-built what's called prompts that you can use. We're going to leverage this one and the classify. All you have to do if you want to build it from scratch is click on this, write your description, put any inputs that you want, and then it will generate the results. So I'm going to show you the ones that I've already created in advance, the prompts that I put in place. Just summarize it in 3 or 4 sentences with natural language, non-legal language, and then I kind of put the description as an input, and it's going to return the results. And then for the classify, I basically did the same thing, just classify the description that we get from the input and some categories. And the categories, we'll use it as input also in the Power Automate so that we can make it a little bit more dynamic. We can also hard code it in here if we want. So for example, I've pre-populated it, but we want to make it dynamic. We could have just written it as a part of the description here. but by doing it dynamic, you could change it over time and make your lives a little bit more, your process a little bit more flexible for the future. So to add those steps, all we got to do is go to the little plus sign above the create, and we're going to just look for the AI capabilities and run a prompt. And then we're going to just find the prompt that we want to leverage. So in this case, we want to do the summarize first. And then we're just going to put the request. So when thinking about what field we want to do, we want to get it from the step above, right? In this case, the response details. So we got to find that particular field, which was request for the description of request. Just click on that. It puts it in there. That's all we got to do for that step. And then we want to do it the same thing for the classify. And then we're going to basically put the same thing. We got two pieces, same field, the description. And we're going to basically go to the description of request. And then for the inputs, I wrote down which categories I want to leverage. Let me get my list. We could put as many as or little as we want. So it's just a string of the different departments, for example, that so we can route it in the future. We're not going to do that routing based on contract, but this will classify it for us. And what's called the next step, we're going to do a little bit of change here. So now we're going to go and we want to go to the summary of matter, and we want to also case type. And we want to populate those two fields. So we've already put the description coming in, but now we want to put a copy of the summarized description in there. So we want to go to we want the prompt one. I'm not renaming it. Normally, best practices, what I would do for renaming, just so you guys are see it, I would basically rename this to summarize, right? Matter, right? Just so that you know which one you're looking at, and this one would become categorized matter, right? Or classified matter. Right, just so that it becomes easy to see which one you're dealing with, right? So, and now you can easily see where you want to grab stuff. So we want to go to the response in this case. So we want to take the text. Text on that, just to make sure that's what we want. Yep, we want to do the text, click add, it puts it there. And then we want to do the same thing for the classify, right? So what we want to do is go to the classify, and we want to bring back the text response from the AI piece. And what's called that will automatically input it. So I like to hit save often, just because I don't like to redo my work, and it's a web browser, so things could crash in the future. So, and then after approvals, we'll just add the approval step here. I want to basically write to the list and say who approved it. So we want to do an update item from SharePoint. So we're going to find the SharePoint update item, and we're going to populate the list again that we were looking at. Just to keep it quick. And then we're going to take the ID from the crate above. So we're going to find the ID, and we're going to do the ID. And this basically tells it, grab the one that we created here. That's the one we want to update. And then we want to just do the approval items for that. So what we want to put in here for the approval is look for the respondents value. So we want to get the approval, and we're going to look at the, you'll see that there's a bunch of fields here that come up by default, but you can also hit more, and you'll get more for that particular step. I like to search, so I'll put what's called display name. Is it not going to come up? Respondents. There will be approver in there. So we want to put the response approver's name for this one. And that will basically put that item's record in there. What you noticed happen here is it created a loop automatically. And the reason it did that is because the response can have multiple responses. If we had multiple people that it was sending to approval, it automatically tries to make a loop for it so that it knows which, if you had to do it for everybody, it would deal with it. In this case, it's only going to loop once because we only have one person, but it helps you do a little bit of the work. We want to do the same thing here for the approval date. That one. And then we want the status, which is the response. Response is approval response. So that, I believe, is the correct one. And basically that will input those updated after we approve it. So we're just gonna do it again. And we'll just let that save. And then we're gonna just kind of go back and do it again. We're just gonna kind of preview. And we're gonna put the same information. Actually, maybe I'll do a different one just so that it makes it a little different. Let me see which one I have. So I got about like 7 or 8 of them. We're gonna basically try it. Not sure if this one will work because I don't know if we have a matter a type that of that type. So, and we'll just put the edge, and then we're just going to put the description. I'll put a long description in here so that you can see the difference that comes out. And then we'll hit submit. And then we'll just go back and watch the flow run. Just so you can kind of see how it looks as it goes through the steps. So as you can see, it's already added it. And if we refresh this, it's created that new matter. And it basically, here's the full description. So it put the full description in here in the description field. And I'm going to just make it big. You can see that it has a lot of detail. And then this one is a little bit smaller, right? So so it tried to do its best to summarize it based on it. And you can also see that it classified it based on the classifications that we gave it. So, which is perfect. That's what we asked it to do. So now for approval, you will get, I believe it's this one, would it just come through? So here, so this is the one that just came through the north edge. We have the details. We didn't update the approval here. So I just noticed that we could go back and do it. In this case, we won't. I'll show you how to do it. We just won't run another test because we're running out of time. I'm just going to click approve so that we can see it show up in with the approval fields populated. So you don't see any approval fields populated here right now, but now that that step is complete, we can see that it completed. If I refresh, you now see it's been approved by me on this date. And what's called the so you have the information. So so that's kind of a quick demo of what we could do. I'm gonna now go back to the deck. So give me a second. So, where was it? So we're going to go back here. No, here. All right. So now let's kind of just what you've seen in the demo. Let's zoom out a little bit and take a moment to talk about what changes when you add Copilot to the picture, right? So before Copilot, we were basically manually creating all those steps. We also could have used some templates, pre-built templates, and modify them, but this becomes a little bit more dynamic to your needs, right? The workflow you just saw has the same process significantly faster than building everything from scratch. It lets you describe what you need, build the flow, refine it over time. And I didn't do a lot of refining through Copilot just to keep it quicker, because sometimes the responses come a little bit faster manually, because there's simple steps that we were doing. But that could help you on more complex ones to get things going. But what I really want to make clear is about something is Copilot doesn't replace the automation. It doesn't run the workflow or make the decisions. It's an accelerator. It helps you build smarter, faster, but Power Automate is still doing the heavy lifting of the execution and the control of your workflows. And the numbers that back this is Forrester found that organizations using Copilot achieve a 116 return on investment. That's real, measurable, and value. It comes from making everyday work more efficient, not massive overhauls. So think of Copilot as the thing that removes friction from friction from getting you started, and helps your team do things a little bit faster.
And we have a question come in the chat.
Yep, definitely. What's the question?
The cost for using the prompt. It's from.
I will check the cost, but it's depending on the license you have. I think it's there. You could get like 20,000 calls or something for like a couple $100. I forget the numbers. I could check it up for you as we close up and get you that number, or get it back to you. I don't remember the exact pricing. Microsoft's been changing some of the pricing recently, so I will confirm that for you for the prompts. So what we've seen the pattern is what you've seen in action now is ask the question, and you what's called and it can help you do stuff. The number one piece of advice I could give you is start small. Pick one workflow, just the one to start as you're learning. Don't try to tackle the world. Maybe it's the intake form like you just saw. Maybe it's a simple approval process. Just keep it simple. Whatever it is, the biggest mistake teams make is trying to automate everything at once, and things getting overwhelmed and before they are able to ship anything, right? Because they keep getting stuck on different processes. So keep it simple, and you can always go back and build on that workflow. And here's the thing: your first workflow doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work, and then you learn from it, you tweak it, and that's completely fine. I do it all the time. I'm constantly tweaking my workflows and building it. Irritation is a sign of something that's isn't a sign that something that's gone wrong. It's a sign of how good your automation gets built, right? So it helps you build it better. You're not going to think of every scenario, but as an edge case comes up, add that to your workflow. Keep enhancing it to make it better to meet your organization's goal. Your organization's process might change over time, so you're going to go back into your workflow and adjust that. So the goal right now isn't perfection. It's building confidence that you could take something manual, turn it into a flow, and actually see it work. Once you have that, the momentum builds on its own, because you'll start to be confident in the tool sets. So let's bring it all back together. We covered a lot of ground today. We want to leave you with a few things. First, Copilot makes automation accessible. You don't need to be technical to get started. If you describe what you need in plain English, you can build a flow that helps remove barriers. Second, Power Automate gives you the structure and control to run those flows reliably. It's not a free-for-all. Everything is tracked, routed, logged. You put some of that in there. The tools have some of its own. As you can see what's running. So it's stuff that legal teams look for. They want to be able to do that, and you could put the extra logging in to meet your needs. Third, you don't need to massive projects to get value. A single well-designed workflow can make a big difference to your team. So start there, learn from it, build some momentum. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any other questions, we got a little bit of time. Feel free to post them. And then what's called yeah. So yeah, some questions. Nothing. I'll let, if there's no questions coming in. Oh, actually, here we go. I saw one question come in. How do you save the form in PDF format? So there is actually a step that you can add that will, you can actually write to a Word document template if you wanted to, but you can also, what's called, so how I would do this is probably build a template, a Word template that you could take the values and input it into the Word template, and then you could convert that Word document that it creates into a PDF if you want to send it, or just send out the Word document to the team. And you can actually send that if you wanted to as a part of your workflow, as a link to in the workflow, so that it's a copy there too. So and you could deposit into the appropriate folders, so you could build on it. So those are great questions because it helps you see where you could build on your flow. Hope that answered your question. Any other questions?
I think someone is typing in the chat. Oh, there's another one.
Can you use this type of automation flow to open files within SharePoint? It will not open a file in SharePoint. What you could do, Power Automate can do, for example, if you have an Excel file that has some scripts in it that needs to run when something happens, you could trigger a script to run. With that, you have to build your scripts to be not macros, but Office scripts, they call it now, because it's running in the cloud in the background. But you could do stuff like that. You could pull information from the files if you want, read some information. It doesn't actually open it on your screen or anything. If you want to open it up in your screen and everything, you would have to use desktop flows, which is a slightly different type of flow, but it's built within Power Automate. That I can actually mimic everything that's happening on your desktop. So you can actually see it like almost like clicking stuff on your screen. It can open up a browser, type in the screen, click in certain places. You can make it do that if you wanted with desktop flows. And you can integrate desktop flows with cloud flows, and with that AI and everything else in between. Hopefully that answered your question. Don't think there's any more questions coming in, so back to you, Prem.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nuno. And thank you everyone for joining us today's session. Before we wrap up, I would like to quickly share our upcoming webinar that may be very valuable for many of you. So Microsoft has recently introduced Microsoft 365 E7, a new enterprise licensing package that brings together Microsoft 365 E5, Microsoft 365 Copilot, and the Microsoft Entra suite. So many organizations are now asking important questions. Is E7 worth the investment? How does it compare to E3 or E5? Does it make sense if we are planning to scale Copilot? What should we consider before our next renewal? So to help answer these questions, we are hosting a special 60 minutes webinar called Is Microsoft 365 E7 Worth It? So this session will be led by Jeff, who is our head of sales, who will walk you through real licensing scenarios, pricing considerations, and how organizations should evaluate E3, E5, and E7 moving forward. If Microsoft licensing, AI readiness, or even renewal planning is on your radar, this will be a great session to attend. We'll actually share the registration link in the chat before everyone leaves. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so also your feedback is valuable to us, so as it helps us improve our webinars and create quality content for you all. To access the survey, please scan the code on the screen. Your participation is directly contributed to the quality of our webinar. And you have also a chance to win $50 Amazon gift card. If you don't have any other questions, let's go to the next slide. All right. So once again, we really appreciate your participation for today's webinar. Keep an eye out on your inbox for today's recording for today's session, certificate and the handouts. We look forward to seeing you again in next month's webinar session. Thank you all.